The world was peaceful, quiet, and normal. Until one day, the skies changed. People looked up and saw something they had never seen before. Massive ships appeared out of nowhere, floating silently in Earth's atmosphere. No one knew where they had come from or who was inside them, but their size and shape made it clear that they weren't human. In every country, people stopped what they were doing. The quiet hum of daily life was interrupted by panic and confusion. Cities fell into a state of chaos as alarms blared across the airwaves. News channels scrambled to explain what was happening, but no one had answers. Phones rang off the hook, and social media exploded with questions and speculations. Who are they? Someone shouted in a crowded street. I don't know, but they're not human. A person answered, his eyes glued to the massive craft above. The ships were huge. They hovered above major cities, blocking out the sun and casting enormous shadows across the land. For a moment, it felt like the whole world had stopped. Even the birds stopped flying, as if they too were waiting for what would happen next. Everyone on the planet was looking up, trying to make sense of the unimaginable. The ships didn't make any noise. They didn't attack. They didn't move for hours. But something about their silence was worse than any explosion. It was as though they were waiting for humanity to react, to make the first move. Then, just as the world was starting to breathe again, the message came. It wasn't spoken aloud. It was broadcast directly into the minds of every human on Earth. At first, it was faint, a strange whisper, like a sound in a dream. But then it grew louder, clearer. We demand tribute. The voice was cold and emotionless, but there was power in it. It was alien, unmistakable. The words were simple, but the meaning was terrifying. The ships hovering above Earth were not here for peace. They were not here to help. They were here to take, to demand. The voice continued. Your tribute must be given within 24 hours. Refuse, and there will be consequences. The world went silent. The message repeated itself several times. Then, just as suddenly as it had come, the voice disappeared. The ships remained. For a few minutes, people didn't know what to do. Governments scrambled to contact one another. Military leaders quickly gathered their forces, preparing for the worst. But nothing happened. The ships did not move. The skies were eerily still. Everyone could feel the tension, like a storm was brewing, but no one knew if it was coming or if it was already here. On Earth, some people thought it was a joke. It's probably just some kind of prank, one person said. There's no way this is real. But others weren't so sure. They remembered the warning, the coldness in the voice. They remembered how the ships had just appeared out of nowhere, like they were watching, waiting. And deep down, they knew something wasn't right. Governments around the world were in a frenzy. The United Nations held an emergency meeting, but even their best minds couldn't come up with a plan. Who were these visitors? What did they want with humanity? The more the world debated, the more the clock ticked down. Only 24 hours left. In the meantime, fear spread like wildfire. People didn't know who to trust, what to believe. Some were sure the aliens would destroy them if they didn't comply. Others believed that fighting back was the only option. But the aliens hadn't shown their true strength yet. They hadn't fired a single shot, but they didn't need to. The fear they brought was enough. Across the globe, people's reactions were mixed. In some countries, leaders began to prepare for the worst. Military forces were put on high alert, and citizens were advised to stay indoors. In other places, there was confusion. There was no clear message, no clear direction. Some people suggested giving the aliens what they wanted, hoping it would keep them away. But what exactly did they mean by tribute? No one knew. Time was running out. The clock was ticking. The world's leaders had no choice but to make a decision. Would they give in to the aliens' demands, or would they try to fight? The tension was unbearable. But in the midst of all this uncertainty, one thing was clear. Humanity had never faced anything like this before. No one knew if the aliens would destroy them or if they had a plan of their own. The only thing everyone could do was wait, hoping they wouldn't have to find out the hard way. The air was thick with fear and uncertainty as the world held its breath, waiting for the next move. Would the aliens come down and take what they demanded? Would Earth comply, or would they refuse? The clock was ticking, and humanity was on the edge of a new and terrifying chapter. The stage was set for what could be the biggest battle in human history, or perhaps something worse. But one thing was certain: the world would never be the same again. The world was on edge. The countdown had begun, and the aliens' demand echoed in every corner of Earth. People still didn't know who these visitors were, but one thing was certain: their power was undeniable. The silence of their ships, the cold precision of their message, it all painted a picture of something far beyond humanity's understanding. Leaders scrambled for answers. The world's military forces were on high alert, ready to strike if necessary. But no one knew what they were up against. The ships hovered silently, their presence a constant reminder of the alien message: give us tribute or face consequences. Some nations quickly began to prepare for what they feared was an inevitable invasion. Tanks were mobilized, airstrikes were scheduled, and soldiers began to line up in their ranks. But there were no orders to actually attack. The aliens had made no move. It was a strange, almost maddening situation. The longer the ships remained still, the more nervous the world became. Everyone was waiting for something to happen. Some sign, some indication of what the aliens would do next. In the United States, the president convened an emergency session with military and intelligence officials. They had been working around the clock to analyze every possible scenario. But so far, there were no answers. Satellite feeds showed no weapons on the alien ships, no signs of aggression, but that didn't mean they weren't dangerous. The president looked at the clock ticking down on the wall. Less than 18 hours to make a decision. We have no idea what these ships are capable of, the president said, his voice tense. We don't even know who or what is on them. But one thing is certain: they're not here to talk. We need to make a choice. What are we going to do? A room full of experts fell silent. There were no easy answers. Do they trust that the aliens will leave after getting what they wanted, or do they resist and risk provoking an attack? Everyone was afraid of making the wrong choice, but the fear of doing nothing was even greater. In countries around the world, civilians were preparing for the worst. Shelters were filled with families, and stores ran out of essential supplies as panic swept through the streets. Some people were convinced the aliens were going to wipe out humanity, while others believed it was a test. One, humanity would fail if they didn't act quickly. But the truth was that no one knew what the aliens truly wanted. The term tribute was vague. What did they mean by that? Some suggested it might be a ransom. Perhaps they were asking for resources or technology. Others worried it could be more sinister, an offering of human lives. The possibilities were endless, and each one was terrifying. At the same time, there was a group of people who believed that humanity should refuse to give in. They're trying to control us, said one protester on the streets of Paris. This is nothing more than an attempt to enslave us. We can't just give in to them. We need to show them that Earth won't bow down. But the fear of the unknown kept most of the world quiet. The stakes were too high, the risks too great. Even those who wanted to fight back knew they needed more information. What could they do against an alien race that had technology far beyond their own? As the deadline neared, one unexpected event occurred. The aliens responded. Another message broadcasted to every corner of the Earth, but this time it was different. It was a warning. We have been patient. The voice boomed in every language on Earth. The tribute is no longer optional. You will comply, or you will face the consequences. You have 1 hour remaining. The tone was unmistakable, cold, and full of power. The aliens were no longer asking. They were demanding. And the world felt it. A collective wave of fear washed over the planet. There was no denying it now. refusal meant something far worse than anyone could imagine. In every nation, leaders looked to each other for guidance. The UN held emergency meetings, but their voices barely rose above the growing panic. People on the streets began to question their leaders. What are they doing? Some shouted, "Why isn't anyone making the decision?" The countdown continued. With only an hour remaining, all the uncertainty in the world couldn't stop the inevitable. Something had to give. In the final moments before the deadline expired, Earth's military might be ready to strike, but no one knew if they were prepared for the true power of the alien force. One last message came in, sending a chill down the spine of everyone who heard it. "You have sealed your fate," the alien voice said, almost coldly. "Your answer will come soon enough." Humanity had made its choice, but as the world waited for the consequences, no one knew just how much damage the refusal would cause. Time was up. The air was heavy with the tension of what was about to happen. Would Earth's resistance bring victory, or would the aliens prove far more powerful than anyone could have imagined? And then, as the last second ticked away, the sky went dark. As the final seconds of the countdown passed, an eerie silence swept over the globe. For a brief moment, it seemed as though nothing had changed. The sky remained clear, the air thick with tension, and the anticipation of humanity's response hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Then, without warning, the skies erupted in a violent display of power. Flashing lights from the alien ships pierced the heavens, their weapons activated, and humanity felt the first shockwave of what was coming. The world's military forces had prepared for this moment, but they were completely unprepared for what they were about to face. A single alien ship, larger than anything humanity had ever seen, fired a beam of energy that cut through the air with a deafening crack. The force of the blast leveled entire cities, reducing them to rubble in seconds. The world watched in horror as the first signs of retaliation began. Across the globe, nations scrambled to respond. The United States launched airstrikes, hoping to destroy the alien ships in a desperate attempt to reclaim control, but the attacks had no effect. Each missile, each bomb, seemed to vanish into thin air before even reaching their targets, swallowed by the impenetrable shields of the alien vessels. In Russia, a squadron of fighter jets soared into the sky, preparing to engage the invaders, but their weapons couldn't even break through the atmosphere of the alien ships. The fighter jets were taken out one by one, falling from the sky in flames, their pilots never knowing what hit them. The aliens' power was overwhelming, and humanity's military might was no match. Every strike, every counterattack, ended in failure. It was as though the aliens were playing a game, testing humanity's resolve while proving how insignificant Earth's defenses truly were in comparison to their own. On the ground, panic spread like wildfire. People ran through the streets, looking for shelter, desperate to escape the devastation. Families huddled together in their homes, praying for safety, while others fled to underground bunkers, hoping to survive the onslaught. But the most chilling part of it all was the aliens' communication. As the first wave of destruction continued to unfold, a new message echoed through every communication device on Earth. "This is only the beginning," the cold, emotionless voice of the alien stated. "Your defiance has consequences. You will learn what it means to face the power of a superior race." The broadcast ended abruptly, and the terrifying sound of the alien ship's weapons charging once more sent a shiver down humanity's spine. It was clear that the aliens were not interested in negotiating, not interested in diplomacy. Their message was simple: submit or be destroyed. As the world reeled from the attack, military leaders and government officials held emergency meetings in a last-ditch attempt to come up with a plan. But there was no plan. The world's finest military minds had no solution, no way of combating the technology the aliens possessed. It was an impossible situation. Earth's forces were fighting against an enemy with weapons they didn't even understand. The global panic reached a fever pitch. Governments had to make quick decisions. Should they surrender and offer whatever the aliens wanted, or should they continue to resist, risking more destruction. In countries all over the world, civilians began to organize. Some groups called for surrender, urging their leaders to end the conflict before it escalated any further. Others rallied against the idea of giving in to the invaders, calling for humanity to stand and fight, no matter the cost. In Europe, protests erupted in the streets, with people holding up signs that read, "We won't bow," and "Fight for Earth," but their voices were drowned out by the sound of explosions and the distant hum of the alien ships, now circling the planet in perfect formation. As the alien ships hovered overhead, humanity could do nothing but wait. For the first time in history, Earth stood on the brink of destruction, unable to stop the advanced power of the extraterrestrial invaders. The aliens had made their statement. They were in control. And just as humanity feared, the alien ships unleashed a second wave of destruction. Powerful blasts erupted from their hulls, sweeping through entire continents. Cities were wiped off the map in seconds, leaving nothing but craters in their wake. The once vibrant and bustling planet now lay in ruins, a shell of its former self. Those who had dared to resist were crushed, their defiance no match for the alien invaders. The consequences of humanity's refusal were undeniable. Earth was paying the price for its stubbornness, its pride. But despite the overwhelming force of the invaders, there was a sense of unity among the survivors. A new resolve was forming in the hearts of the people. The aliens' message had shaken them to their core, but it had also sparked something within humanity. A fire, a determination not to let their planet fall without a fight. Even in the face of total destruction, the question remained, could humanity rise from the ashes? Could they find a way to push back against this overwhelming force? Or would they be reduced to nothing more than a footnote in the history of the galaxy? The world held its breath as the alien ships prepared for their next move. And humanity had only one thing left: hope. The devastation was impossible to ignore. Cities were reduced to rubble, and the very foundation of humanity's power seemed to be crumbling under the pressure of the alien onslaught. The once thriving world was now a battlefield, with the aliens taking control of the skies and the seas. But even in the face of this overwhelming destruction, something deep within the heart of humanity stirred. The first whispers of resistance began in the underground bunkers, where the few surviving leaders and military figures were gathered. They had lost contact with the majority of the world's governments, but there was one thing that remained unbroken: humanity's spirit. In secret, alliances were formed. Small groups of soldiers, scientists, engineers, and ordinary citizens who had once led peaceful lives began to band together. They were united by one singular goal: to take back their world. In the midst of the chaos, the first sign of humanity's resilience appeared. A team of engineers, working in the shadows of a destroyed city, managed to reverse engineer a piece of the alien technology they had recovered from the wreckage of the first wave of destruction. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The weapons the aliens had used were far beyond human understanding, but the sheer brilliance of humanity's inventors and problem solvers gave them hope. If they could understand even a fraction of this technology, they might have a chance. The military, scattered across different countries, began to regroup and organize. The response from Earth's forces had been fragmented and ineffective so far, but now they were pooling their resources together. The world's few remaining warships were being repaired, and new weapons were being developed with the stolen alien tech. They were facing an enemy that had shown no mercy, but humanity was showing the first signs of defiance. The global communication networks, still largely in ruins, began to flicker back to life. The survivors in the underground resistance networks sent messages to every corner of the planet. Broadcasts, intercepted transmissions, and secret messages started spreading across what remained of the human race. One message, in particular, stood out: "We will not fall. Earth is ours to protect. The alien invaders will learn that humanity will never kneel." It was a simple message, but it resonated with the people. It sparked the beginning of a rebellion. Every man, woman, and child who still had hope now had a purpose. The survivors, who had once been cowering in fear, began to fight back. Small skirmishes erupted in the streets as groups of humans used every weapon at their disposal to take down alien patrols. In the mountains, guerrilla fighters used the rugged terrain to their advantage, staging ambushes against the alien forces. In the cities, underground cells of resistance fighters worked tirelessly to free their people and sabotage the aliens' operations. Even though they were outmatched in technology and firepower, humanity's ingenuity was starting to shine through. It wasn't just about brute force. It was about using every advantage they could get, every hidden corner, every tactical move. The moment that the first human fleet, fully equipped with stolen alien tech, launched into space was a game changer. It wasn't the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, not by a long shot, but it was a statement that humanity was far from defeated. They were taking the fight to the stars. The alien forces, initially confident in their absolute superiority, now began to see humanity's response. The resistance wasn't just fighting for survival, it was fighting for revenge. And as the first human warship launched into the dark void of space, it sent a ripple of shock through the alien command. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens started to question their position. The aliens had demanded tribute. They had expected Earth to submit without resistance. But now, humanity was showing them something they had never anticipated. The human spirit, though battered and broken, refused to be crushed. And as Earth's warships, powered by alien technology, began to make their way toward the invading fleet, the tables were beginning to turn. The alien forces were no longer as confident as they had been. Their eyes, for the first time, saw humanity not as an insignificant species to be crushed, but as a formidable force that would no longer be ignored. Their arrogance had been their downfall. The tides of war were shifting, but the fight was far from over. Humanity had only just begun to rise from the ashes, and the aliens would soon realize the true cost of underestimating them. As the resistance movements grew stronger, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The war had only just begun, but there was one certainty. Humanity was fighting with everything it had, and the invaders would soon learn the terrible price of their arrogance. The moment had arrived. Humanity's response to the alien invasion had been swift and decisive. The world's warships, now equipped with alien technology, emerged from the depths of Earth's atmosphere and into the vastness of space. With their hulls reinforced and weaponry adapted from the wreckage of alien ships, these ships were unlike anything humanity had ever created. The alien forces, who had thought they had secured the planet and subjugated Earth's inhabitants, were taken by surprise. The humans weren't just running for their lives. They were making a stand, and it was a stand that shook the foundation of everything the invaders had believed. A single human ship, the first of its kind, appeared on the edge of the alien fleet's radar. The invaders had assumed that Earth's defense was nothing but a joke. They believed humanity was primitive and unprepared. They were wrong. Very wrong. The ship, dubbed the Vanguard, was a symbol of Earth's resilience. With a sleek, imposing design, it cut through the cold expanse of space like a shadow of vengeance. Its weapons, powered by alien technology, were a force to be reckoned with. Humanity's scientists had worked tirelessly to reverse engineer the alien technology, and it had paid off. The Vanguard was faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything Earth had ever seen. As the alien fleet moved closer to Earth, expecting an easy victory, the Vanguard launched its first strike. A series of powerful energy blasts erupted from the ship's cannons, hitting their targets with deadly precision. The aliens, unprepared for such a powerful counterattack, scrambled to defend themselves. Their once confident demeanor was replaced with panic. The first alien ship to fall was a massive warship, larger than anything Earth had ever built. But it was no match for the human warship's advanced weaponry. The Vanguard's shots punched through its thick armor, and within moments, the ship erupted in a violent explosion. The shockwave from the blast rippled through the alien fleet, sending a message loud and clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Across the battlefield, other human ships followed suit. Each one, though smaller and less powerful than the alien warships, was equipped with the same cutting-edge alien technology. The human fleet was scattered, but each ship fought with a ferocity the aliens hadn't expected. The invaders, who had once thought they could crush Earth's resistance with ease, were now facing a relentless onslaught. The warship's first strike was just the beginning. The alien fleet, once confident in their ability to overwhelm Earth, now had to deal with humanity's fight for survival. Every human ship, no matter how small or damaged, fought with everything they had. The aliens quickly realized they were dealing with a species unlike any other. Back on Earth, the people watched in awe as their ships made contact with the invaders. Every victory was broadcasted across the planet, reigniting hope in the hearts of humanity. The news of the first strike spread like wildfire. The people who had been hiding in fear now had something to believe in. But even as the battle in space raged on, the war on Earth was far from over. The alien forces still held control over much of the planet, and they were far from giving up. The resistance on the ground continued to fight back, using guerrilla tactics and sabotage to disrupt the invaders' operations. Each victory, whether in space or on Earth, brought humanity one step closer to reclaiming their home. However, the alien forces were not stupid. They quickly realized that the humans were no longer the helpless species they had assumed. The aliens began to regroup and prepare for a more intense confrontation. The invaders had underestimated the strength of the human spirit, and now they would pay the price. The first strike had shown the aliens what humanity was capable of. But it was only the beginning. The war was far from over, and the humans knew that they would need to keep pushing forward, fighting with everything they had. The aliens would not give up easily, and humanity would need to be ready for the battles to come. As the warships engaged in fierce space combat, the humans knew one thing for sure. They were not fighting to survive. They were fighting for their future. And every victory, no matter how small, brought them closer to reclaiming the Earth from the invaders who had dared to take it. The first strike was just the opening salvo. Humanity's wrath had only begun to unfold. And the aliens? They would soon learn that underestimating Earth's warriors had been their greatest mistake. The battle in space was raging. The alien fleet, once seemingly invincible, was now in chaos. The first strike had been a wake-up call for the invaders, but they had underestimated humanity's resolve. The vanguard and the rest of the human fleet moved with a precision and fury that left the alien forces reeling. Every shot, every missile, every maneuver was carefully calculated to bring them closer to victory. The aliens had expected humanity to crumble under the pressure. They believed that once their superior technology overwhelmed the human forces, it would be over. But they were wrong. Earth's resistance was relentless, and it was powered by something the aliens didn't understand, something they couldn't replicate. It was the sheer will to fight, to survive, and to protect everything humanity held dear. The Vanguard, the flagship of the human fleet, continued to lead the charge. Its advanced weapons tore through the alien ships with devastating efficiency. Each strike was a reminder of humanity's wrath, a message to the invaders that Earth would not go down without a fight. Back on Earth, the resistance on the ground had also begun to turn the tide. Guerrilla fighters, armed with salvaged alien weapons, launched coordinated attacks on the invaders' strongholds. Cities that had once been under siege now saw their first glimpses of freedom as the invaders' grip loosened. The once terrifying alien forces were now on the defensive, their tactics no longer as effective against the humans' unrelenting will to fight. The alien commanders were in disarray. They had underestimated the strength of humanity, and now they were paying the price. They had thought the war would be quick and easy, but humanity had turned the tables on them, and the invaders were no longer sure of their victory. Meanwhile, the human fleet was growing stronger. Each day, more ships joined the battle, and humanity's reach extended farther into space. The aliens who had once thought they could take Earth with little effort now realized that the war was not just about conquering a planet. It was about facing a species that would fight to the bitter end. On the front lines, the human soldiers fought with unparalleled courage. The memories of loved ones lost to the invaders fueled their every move. The alien forces were no longer the dominant power they had once believed themselves to be. Humanity's response to their demands, the shock of the first strike, had awakened something in the hearts of every human. The will to survive had become the driving force of the war. In the heat of battle, the alien fleet began to retreat. The once mighty armada was now fragmented, scattered across the void of space, desperately trying to regroup. The vanguard pursued them relentlessly, picking off ships one by one. Humanity's warships, fueled by the same fire that had driven them to fight, were unyielding in their pursuit of victory. But the battle was far from over. While the alien fleet was in disarray, the invaders still held significant power. Their ground forces were dug in deep, and they had established a formidable defensive perimeter. The warships may have been breaking through the alien lines in space, but the fight on Earth was far from won. The resistance on the ground knew they had to keep pushing forward. They couldn't afford to let up, not when victory was so close. The humans, now united by a common cause, launched a final push to liberate their planet. Armed with alien technology and driven by a fierce desire for freedom, they attacked the invaders' strongholds with everything they had. The invaders' fear had grown. They had never expected Earth's forces to fight this hard, to be this relentless. The human fleet, once outgunned and outnumbered, was now a force to be reckoned with. Every alien ship destroyed, every victory on the ground was a reminder to the invaders that they had made a grave mistake. The wrath of humanity was not just a reaction to the invasion, it was a warning that Earth was no longer a defenseless planet. Humanity had the power, the technology, and the determination to defend their world, and they would not stop until the invaders were driven from the stars. As the battle raged on, the aliens' hope of victory began to crumble. They had pushed humanity to the brink, but they had also awakened something in the human race that they had never seen before, a will to fight, to survive, and to protect their home at all costs. The aliens had made a terrible mistake by underestimating humanity, and now they would pay for it. The final battle had arrived. After months of brutal fighting, humanity had forced the alien invaders to the edge of total defeat. Their once mighty fleet was broken, scattered across space, while their forces on Earth were crumbling under the relentless pressure from the human resistance. The aliens had never encountered a species like humanity before, resilient, resourceful, and most terrifying of all, capable of unimaginable fury when provoked. The Vanguard, humanity's last warship, stood at the forefront of the final assault. Its engines roared as it cut through the vacuum of space, flanked by the remnants of Earth's fleet, all united in one singular mission: to rid the stars of the alien invaders once and for all. On the bridge of the Vanguard, the crew was resolute. They knew this would be the turning point, the last chapter of a war that had claimed countless lives. Commander Vance, the leader of the Vanguard and humanity's symbol of defiance, stood tall before his crew, his voice steady as he addressed them one final time. "This is it. We've come this far, and there's no turning back. We fight for Earth, for everyone we've lost, and for the future we will protect. Today, we show them that humanity will never be their prey." The alien commanders, however, had not yet given up. Though their fleet was in disarray, they still had a powerful weapon at their disposal, a massive superweapon hidden deep within their mothership. It was capable of wiping out entire fleets with a single blast, and it was their last hope to turn the tide in their favor. But they had made one final miscalculation. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and counter even the most formidable threats. As the alien mothership powered up its superweapon, the Vanguard, and the remaining human fleet closed in. The sky above Earth darkened with the looming presence of the alien warships. The humans were ready for the final confrontation, but they knew this would be their most dangerous battle yet. Their only chance was to destroy the superweapon before it could unleash its devastating power. The tension in the air was palpable. Every crew member on the Vanguard felt the weight of this moment. They had fought for so long, and now they stood on the brink of either total victory or total destruction. But they had no choice but to push forward. As the Vanguard and its fleet engaged the alien forces, a fierce battle broke out in space. Explosions lit up the void, and the once pristine surface of the alien mothership began to show signs of damage. The aliens, desperate to protect their last hope, fought back with all the might they had left, but it was clear their time was running out. Commander Vance knew they had to move quickly. With the enemy closing in and the super weapon charging, he made a bold decision. Full speed ahead. We're going straight for the mothership's core. Prepare for a high-risk assault. The human fleet shifted its course, heading directly toward the alien mothership's weak point. The superweapon, still charging, was their only obstacle to victory. It was now or never. The Vanguard led the charge, its weapons blazing as it tore through the alien defenses. With every shot, the humans pushed forward, determined to reach the heart of the mothership and destroy the superweapon before it could fire. The alien ships, though powerful, were now overwhelmed by the sheer force of humanity's will. The once proud invaders began to retreat in disarray. As the Vanguard reached the alien mothership, Commander Vance gave the order for a final strike. All weapons on target. Hit them with everything we've got. The Vanguard unleashed its full firepower, striking the mothership with devastating force. The aliens attempted to activate the superweapon in a final act of desperation, but it was too late. The mothership's core exploded in a fiery eruption, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The alien fleet, now without a leader and without their superweapon, disintegrated in a matter of moments. With the last of the invaders defeated, the surviving humans let out a collective cheer. It was over. Earth had been saved, and humanity had shown the galaxy that it was not to be underestimated. But even in victory, there was a heavy silence. Commander Vance stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, looking out at the wreckage of the once mighty alien fleet. "We won, but the cost was high," he murmured. Though they had triumphed, the scars of war would forever be etched into humanity's memory. The fallen had been avenged, but the path to this victory had been paved with loss, sacrifice, and unyielding determination. And so, humanity's message echoed across the stars once more. They would never be the prey. The galaxy would remember that when humanity was pushed to the edge, it would fight back with everything it had. The invaders had learned their lesson too late. Earth's defenders were no longer just humans. They were a force to be reckoned with, and they would protect their world at any cost.